Call the meeting to order of the Board of Sewer and Water Commission, Town of Walpole. We're at the Delaney Treatment Plant on Washington Street with a posted and published agenda for Monday, May 12th, 2025. Time being 6:30, we'll call the meeting to order. We have a agenda. We'll start with the minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Abbott?
on the third page, last item, correspondence, at the bottom, it says motion made by myself, seconded by you, John. We adopt the mandatory process written. That says vote was 2-0-1, and then on the roll call, it was yes, no, yes.
Right, you're correct.
So
It should be 2-1.
2-1-0.
I made it correct at town meeting, but,
Yeah, that's the
thank you.
only thing it was just a clarification of the vote.
all right, are you good, Patrick, with this, or are you,
Yeah, I know, you're right.
okay?
Yeah, I voted against it because I was concerned that it wasn't written in there about car washing.
Okay. Are there any other amendments?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of April 14th with that one correction.
Okay,
I'll second his motion.
thank you. Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0-0. We have a superintendent's status report that's supplied at the meeting, and we're having Steve Nunnery present it.
Good evening. Last meeting was April 12th, so this one's a little lengthy. The new water main, 12-inch on Norfolk Street from Renmar to 1A as part of the age-qualified development, is now up and running live and looping the south zone from the Dunkin' Donuts area on 1A to Norfolk and West. When we tied over McDonald and some of the side streets, we did get some complaints about dirty water. We worked through them, flushed as we needed. Most of the complaints have stopped, and I believe it's been about 10 days now we've been looping the water through. We've been monitoring the chlorine, and the water is looping. Water conservation measures are implemented as of 5/1. We have a signboard to DPW, message on the website, and via social media. So far, it's been a pretty rainy spring. We haven't seen big demands on the pumping with, these 3 or 4 day rain events every week. High Oak Sewer Station rehab, substantially complete now. We just got the new pumps going, improved controls, piping and valving. The work went pretty fast. I would say about 2.5 weeks start to finish, mobilizing, bypass, getting the pumps and controls in. The contractor, Arctic Construction, worked very well with us.
What was that again, ARC?
Ardent
Oh,
Construction.
Ardent, yeah,
I believe they're out of the Cape. This is their first project with us in town.
yeah.
We experienced a couple well breakdowns here down at the EJ Delaney plant over the past couple weeks, both related to the mechanicals of the pumps, motors, and shafting. Washington 5, we saw a reduction in the shaft and some wear on the pump needed to be taken out of service. We ended up ordering a new pump, and we're expecting that to come back to service in about a week and a half. Washington 4A, the motor went out on a startup. Luckily, that motor was in stock with our supplier. We were able to turn it around that same week. Just to note, these breakdowns, they didn't affect our overall pumping because we had enough wells to supplement for this temporary shortage of these wells being offline.
Okay, but it is a concern that if this is an ongoing,
Well, it's what Scott call wear and tear. The water is aggressive.
Well, what's the pH?
Of the raw water, I think
Yeah.
anywhere from 6 to 6.3, 6.5. It's aggressive enough, and that and the iron and the manganese wear down these parts pretty good.
okay.
Next, the Willis replacement lagoon bids came in last week. You'll have in your printout the tabulation. Bids came in from 3.3 to just over $4 million. These bids were higher than the amount that we've appropriated at fall town meeting for this project.
What did we appropriate?
Right around 2.2 million.
Oh, man.
So what we are seeing is a trend of costs rising in this quarter. We've been getting quotes for capital meetings, seeing costs increase. Our engineers have been noticing more increases, and I think this is partly where it fell in line. So this project will have to be rebid. Right now, we're looking at appropriating more money in fall town meeting to cover this, and we're gonna watch rising trends, and we're gonna look at our engineering to see if things can be adjusted in the meantime.
Have these companies sent you a brochure and some type of what they were gonna do exactly?
So this is a Chapter 149 bid.
Yeah.
So these contractors they all meet a minimum qualification.
No, I'm not talking about that, like, I know the qualifications, but what are they gonna exactly do?
They're gonna do exactly what we tell them to. We had a well-defined plan.
I never saw the
Specifications.
RFP on these. Do you have one?
I believe it was an invitation for bid. Yes, we have them.
Okay, there has to be an RFP someplace.
Yes,
Because, yeah, what they're gonna do
and we also post these on the town website under
on
purchasing.
the what?
Town website under purchasing.
Oh, okay, I have no idea.
Last item, the EJD PFAS pilot is currently underway. So far, out of 3 medias, 2 of them are doing very well, the granular activated carbon and the absorption media. We did have 1 media, the ion exchange, that failed around 21 days. It's actually not uncommon. We're the 3rd water plant to see this in piloting. So our engineer, we're pulling that media out. We're gonna put in a different kind of ion resin that we're hoping to get better results with. And this media is actually gonna go out and be looked under a microscope to tell us why did it fail so early. So it's good that we're doing this pilot, because we'll get some real data for when we go to do the upgrade, which direction to go with.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All right, very good. Thank you, Steve. We have an appointment with John Glossa Engineering on 16 Comstock Way. Good evening, John.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, how are you?
Could I
I'm
see
just
the,
fine.
Comstock?
I have the plans here if you want to put them on.
We don't have that on the computer, Scott, do we? No.
I'm sorry.
Hey, John. No, we have it.
Dave, you want to look at this?
John, can you angle it so that we can see it as well as,
Oh, boy.
yeah. It's usually somewhere around there, and then angling it so that we can see it, which, yes, I think, all right.
Okay. Can I take this? No. But it's pretty easy to explain, so I don't need to stand right there. I have Nick Kajar, who's the owner of the property, here with me. And it's 16 Comstock Driveway? Comstock Way, which, Comstock Way, if you went all the way up Summer Street, almost till you get into Norfolk, it goes off to the left. And it's a dead-end street of about 750, 800 feet. And Nick's house it's not the very last house, but it's kind of the last house on the left. The very last one sort of off of the cul-de-sac, almost straight ahead. And Nick wants to construct an accessory dwelling unit for his parents to live on. And so we've been working with Bob Burke, who's the builder, with the location. We've gone to the Conservation Commission. We have an order of conditions. I've talked with the building inspector about this, and he's all set with it. but he did mention to me about the utilities, that perhaps I'm not showing the utilities correctly. So I did talk to Rick. I left him a plan. Rick would like to see the water service connected directly out to the street. And so as far as the sewer service, we are asking the board what their recommendation is. So the current plan shows, and I will going to stand here for 1 second. I'll talk loudly. It shows the sewer coming out of the building, basically following the right side of the driveway as you're driving in, crossing the driveway. This is the existing driveway, which is also going to be the proposed driveway. And then crossing the front, missing the street trees, and connecting into the existing house sewer, which is a, fairly recently constructed sewer. It's a 6-inch pipe. It has plenty of depth to it, and we would connect there, and then obviously it goes out to the main. Now, these accessory dwelling units cannot be condominiumized. They cannot be sold separately, so this property always stays the same. The alternative is to just simply go, like highlighted in here in yellow, directly out to the sewer main from the accessory dwelling unit. So that is approximately 45 feet or so of excavation in the street. That excavation's about 8 feet deep. I talked with Kenny Jones today. Kenny Jones is going to be the site contractor. So he says this is $20,000 to $25,000 more than this. So that's why we're here. I don't see any engineering reason not to do this. It has plenty of pitch on it. It's not like something's going to, inordinately get stuck in that pipe. So I guess we're here to ask you if you would approve the connection. I don't know if the board's actually taken any action on any of these or on.
You're the first guinea pig.
But if you read sort of, and I put it in, I had sent it to you, if you sort of read like the enabling legislation for this, the state is really sort of asking the towns to kind of keep the costs down, make these as affordable as possible. So it's $20,000 to $25,000 to, more if we go straight out into the street. Because as you guys are in the business, digging in the street is expensive.
Sean, what did the town engineer say?
Hold on. Let me just, so I noticed you put cleanouts at every angle, in other words.
Yes.
Yeah, which is good.
Yes.
I think that's appropriate.
Yes.
Go
So to answer you, Mr. Fasanello, the Walpole Town Engineer has seen this plan because he sees it when we file it with the Conservation Commission. I also had plenty of conversations with him because sort of there was a little bit of lack of information in his files, not his fault, over exactly where the lateral was, but we did get all of that figured out by going inside the house and having some ties from the sewer manholes. So we're positive that that's where the sewer
So this
is.
is going to be one that's not
and this-
connected to the
and,
main house. It looks like it's separated.
Mr.
Right.
Baldoff, Carl Baldoff, did not have any issues
So
with
he's
this.
got cleanouts here,
setup.
here, and here.
So basically, the unit has its own sewer system, its own sewer connection.
It'll have its own sewer connection until.
Yeah,
it
this is kind of
connects
unclear.
At this point, right here.
Right here.
There's no way I can see that.
It's right here.
Yeah, I know, but,
Right
okay.
here, right here. It's going to connect, here's the sewer coming out of the house.
Yes, okay.
We're gonna connect right there, so we're
You're gonna
coming
come down
out,
here,
downhill, boom, and it goes out to the street.
okay. Why don't you connect it directly to the sewer?
because it's $20 to $25,000 more cost.
Yeah,
We're not digging in the street, we're digging across the driveway of Mr. Hajar, but we're not digging in the street. When you dig in the street, it's very expensive, as you know.
you know, we allowed this about 40 years ago, okay, and I don't know who remembers it. And the town wound up paying because the two houses were connected to a sewer that entered, okay? And there was a blockage, and they were fighting about it, and back and forth, but for public health reasons, and we connected that house directly to the sewer. So both of them had a connection.
Right, so I'm familiar with that, Mr. Fassett.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about then?
I am, so let me just explain to you. In Massachusetts, right, there are only two types of sewers, okay? One is called a common sewer. A common sewer is a sewer where multiple entities connect into it, and a common sewer has to be owned and maintained by a commission, a town, a condominium, some single unit, it could be the state, MWRA, some single unit where if something happens, the DEP or whoever it is can go after that group and say, hey, your sewer's plugged or your sewer's leaking or whatever, fix it. The other type of sewer is called a particular sewer. So a particular sewer is for one entity. It cannot have multiple entities connected to it. The one you're talking about had multiple entities connected, multiple ownerships connected to one sewer. That cannot happen in Massachusetts. So here, right, and if you read the enabling legislation, here, those two buildings can never be separated. The ownership of those two buildings can never be separated. It's always going to be whoever owns 16 Comstock Way owns both of those buildings. They cannot be separated.
That's what they said about what I'm talking about.
Well-
It can never, ever, ever be separated. It
This
was
is-
separated.
this is-
And we wound up. So how many feet from it's,
About 45 feet in the pavement. Right.
knowing the way our population is going, this is going to be owned by somebody else someday. And I'd rather see it directly connected to the sewer, just to protect us and the town. And you're going to say never, 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 John, but you know that there's no such thing.
Right. All I know is what the enabling legislation, what the
And you know-
state said.
you
And
know
I
how many
gave
times
that to
that's
you, and I
changed.
can read it to you. but-
You know, when I started, we used to be thrilled that the rainwater would go into the sanitary sewer, because it was their belief that this would be a wonderful thing. You know how that's changed, right?
Yeah, things change, that's
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These things change all the time. So just, I'd feel much more comfortable if it was just connected directly.
yeah.
I think I respectfully disagree with Pat. I think the town meeting obviously allowed this to go forward the other night. And I think that the intent is clearly to provide an economical alternative to make housing options affordable to the public. And it isn't making it affordable if we find ways to make things more expensive, and in this case duplicative, in my vision wasteful. I don't think tearing up the street is a good thing. And frankly, I believe that for long as the current government's around, they're not going to let the auxiliary housing units be partitioned off in any way under ownership. And the town of Walpole isn't going to allow it in their zoning. So they're never going to be able to break that, under current regimes, break that apart. So, I'm predisposed it favorably, because I think you've done a nice way of putting the cleanouts where they should be and positioning it so you're not affecting the street in any way, keeping it on the back of the property, et cetera, so. I don't find a problem with it. It's a nice, it's really our first example, I believe. Bill?
I would agree with you, John. I think the change is the fact that we now have, or are allowing ADUs, whereas before, as John has mentioned, Pat, you did, where it could be separated. And, you know, it's possible down the road that someone will, but I don't, that's not what the intent is. And I think because the state has changed, and recently at town meeting, we've adopted with some minor changes, that this changes the situation. So I'd be inclined to go with the plan of not getting it into the street.
I'd like to point out, I'm sorry, go ahead, Pradeep.
I have a question. Your letter says that separate water and sewer connection. Are you contesting that there should be a separate water meter or not?
Well, we think it should be one water meter in one connection. So our plan shows the connection going back to the house with the water, but your superintendent seems to feel that that's not allowable, even though...
That's
as I
not
said,
advisable for the economic point of view. The sewer connection is a different issue, like whether you want to connect direct to street or not. The water meter, because the ADUs can be rented for long-term rental, it will be a problem if the owner are not putting a separate water meter. So that will be a problem. So that's advisable to have a separate water meter.
Yeah, they can
And-
put a sub-meter, but as I said, your director has already told me that it's not going to be allowed, so
We
So
don't,
we're
yeah,
here more for
we
the
don't build
sewer.
sub-meters, yeah.
we're here more for the sewer.
Well, yeah, I think just the other side of that, Pradeep, is that you're creating more meters and more billing and more headaches for our staff by creating 2 meters at a site.
I don't
Just
think one
when-
more meter will hurt
Great,
staff.
yeah.
No, but if there's 500 these units, there'd be 500 more meters and 500 more billing cycles for,
And there could potentially be 500 more units. I don't think that the sewer was never an issue, to John's point. Your regulations clearly state that there's one water service to each premise. So if you vote otherwise, you're contradicting your own regulations. On the sewer, it's kind of correct. And I like John's concept of the sewer. I don't see a problem with that.
that's good.
The water, I think, should be separate.
Yeah, no, I'm just making the point, there's 2 sides of the argument, I'm just pointing, I'm not saying that's where my position is, but it's not all
And
one
As
way.
far as what town meeting did the other night, all they did was add leverage to the town individualized to make requirements such as this.
I know, well,
But that's not how it was just conveyed.
And, Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
I'd like to point out that the stub wasn't designed to take on 2 structures.
The 6-inch sewer service is more than adequate for 2 houses.
What I said, it wasn't designed to take on 2 structures.
By virtue of the fact that it's 6-inch, I would disagree.
I'm saying, it wasn't designed that way.
A 6-inch pipe is more than adequate for 2 premises.
Then why did we use that then? Why didn't we use a smaller one? If it's so
That's your minimum.
fine.
Right.
Yeah,
That's your minimum in Walpole, and
Yeah.
in
You know,
fact,
there's
not
some-
only Walpole, but most towns now that where we
We're
work.
asking for trouble when you do this. I'm just telling you that. Okay, you know that, John, because it's already happened.
It happened in a different.
You know that.
It's completely different circumstance.
It's
It
not- wasn't
happened,
completely-
It happened in a completely different
It
circumstance.
wasn't completely different.
The enabling legislation says that these 2 units can never be in separate ownership. It's never gonna happen. It would be a violation of zoning if it happened, so the
They
building
change
inspector
zoning all
can't.
the time. They change the rules. They change the
It's just
engineering all the time.
Okay.
Okay. So, anybody have
Just
any,
try to protect the town here.
any other thoughts? Scott, do you have anything to say about this? No. Steve, you?
Just the square footage at 900 feet I noticed, and I believe there's a max square footage on the AD regulation, isn't there?
900 square feet.
Okay.
So I'm assuming one bathroom, one kitchen.
It's one unit, yeah.
Okay, if not, we have a motion. I guess I can make it if you want, Bill. You want to make the motion?
All right, I'll make a motion that we agree and approve the proposal as,
You have to keep two separate motion, one for water, one for sewer.
for sewer,
Okay.
for sewer, as has been presented by the applicant.
Okay, I'll second the motion for the sewer on John's plan. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Opposed? No? Okay.
All right.
So it'd be 3-1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. See how, it's a separate sewer all over the street here.
have you heard what they said?
No, I know,
It's gonna
I get it, I get it. I'm mad at town meeting, they went that way. Okay. You good?
Mr. Chairman, correspondence number 1 is just the planning board announcing their decision. There's no action that we need to take.
Right.
Or could take.
Anybody have anything to discuss on the Winter Street? No. Okay. And we have 49 Summer Street.
Wait a sec now. We have, Winter Street, do we have the plan for Winter Street?
Winter Street's,
That's
decided. Winter Street's done.
that's been before the board
I know it
multiple
has.
times. And, this-
I want to refresh my memory, that's all. All right, do we have something on Summer Street?
So just a little background on this. It's a multi-tenant commercial building, already built. And the site plan in front of you has addition on the building, some stormwater improvements. There's no proposal modifications to water or sewer utilities. 440 gallons per day of water they're estimating, and 400 gallons of sewer.
This is basically opposite, sort of diagonally opposite the South Walpole post office.
It looks like they're adding another bay to their facility.
Yeah.
This is Winter.
Yeah, like the post office is over here, Pat.
The what?
The post office is
It's the Brightview landscape, right?
Yeah.
right across the street.
This is where the old lumber company used to
Yeah.
be? Is this it? Yeah, the lumber
Yeah,
company.
here's the tracks, the post office is, as I said, diagonally.
Bird machine is over here.
Yeah.
I believe I highlighted the utilities on one of the plans.
Not on this one.
It might be on
One of the other sheets.
on one of the earlier pages.
And what's he storing here?
Oh, let's go the other way to see where the highlights are. You want to look at the utilities.
And let's see the locus.
I guess,
Next one, next page.
there's yellow on there, I think.
If you see yellow highlights, it's gonna be marked.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Is it on here too? I can't.
I only marked the utilities one.
This is the same plan. Is this the same plan? Same?
So the existing and proposed look pretty similar because they're only adding the one bay on the end.
This is a landscaping business or something?
It's commercial with contractors in and out.
Got a lot of different people
Oh, here
in there.
it is. Let's-
Oh, there you go, okay. There it is.
And they're picking up gravel and sand, and I see gravel. Oh, I don't know if that's a bay or what that is, but,
The addition is down at this end.
That's on the next page, you'll see
But these are,
the water and sewer utilities. They're not being affected as part of this.
So,
oh, this addition, this is the addition.
yeah.
so
So
what do they run through the building or around the
I
building?
believe they're gonna run the water and sewer, connect them through the building.
Through the building. So,
have we experienced any problems with the existing building there? To your
I have
knowledge?
not heard anything on the existing building, no.
This would be no difference as if they added a second story.
Yeah, and they're only proposing about 440 gallons per day to the water, 400 to the sewer, which is probably most likely Title V numbers.
so they don't say what the building is for storing cars or chemicals?
Looking through the planning board site plan approval and the review that, the applicant fills out, it just lists commercial with movement of contractors moving in and out.
It's probably similar to what we've seen on, I guess, West Street. I think there's some others where actually on South Street, where they actually added additional bays. Seems like there's a market for basically a garage. So the plumber, instead of keeping his stuff back at his house, rents a bay in one of these buildings.
Okay. So is there anything there about a pump gravity or
I haven't seen anything on that.
sewer?
I believe they do have a pump sewer system. You'll note below the sewer, it notes I think a forced sewer station, 2R sewer.
Is a grinder pump or something, or what is it?
That's what it indicates in the plan that's current, yes.
And that services the existing building.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's nothing, it's not an additional.
Yes, it's existing.
These are cumbersome. It'd be a good thing if,
Is this live here, this railroad spur?
No, it's,
I believe that's a trail. Is it
No,
existing?
it says railroad spur.
That I do not know.
So you're coming in off the main
Railroad
line?
tracks.
Okay, coming in here.
I would assume it's not live, but that's where their proposed addition's going.
this is Dan Merrick, this is Legacy Engineering doing this?
this would be coming, that would have come off the MBTA's Foxborough line as the main line there. That's the one that, comes
Well,
basically from the train station, cuts across and goes over to the stadium.
there's only one track,
Right.
and this one has a spur on it that comes off over here. And just curious if they're abandoning it.
It's on the next page, it has the proposed building. It should say what they're gonna do.
There it is, it's still there, alive and well.
Might have been when there was a lumber yard that they received lumber
Oh, okay.
a long time ago.
We don't know what they'd bring in on this spur, do we?
I would be surprised if it's still in use.
Well, I'm always surprised. I'm never really surprised either, what they can do. I'm thinking, are they gonna bring fuel oil in for the building? What's the heating? They gonna bring a tanker in for fuel or something like that? I don't know.
It's not indicated on their
know.
site plan approval that
That's
they're gonna be
correct.
doing it.
Why isn't it indicated?
Because I believe it's just a garage addition that they're doing.
I'd like them to come before us and chat with us about this.
This is, on this drawing, there's 3 proposed new bays. In
What are they
other
gonna
words,
be in
They've
these?
got tenants A, B, C, D, and these tenants up front. And then
Tenants?
Tenants.
What are the tenants?
These are businesses. They, like you
What
said,
what do you mean, they're businesses? Are
they,
they?
they have trucks, or they're landscaping, or they're delivery, or what. One of the tenants up on West Street, he makes wine.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, whatever. They're businesses that are in.
I'd like to chat with them.
There's three new
I don't know
units. is
that
what
they
he-
would know what their tenants are, and, you know, it would be they would possibly change as somebody goes out of business, somebody rents them. They basically are garage.
That would be, well, that's true. I mean, if it was in an aquifer area, you'd be concerned to make sure it isn't gonna be a
Well, they could have,
chemical company or something.
they
That's
could
all,
have a
but
paint supply person in there or something.
it might be all right in that
It might
area.
not be all right.
That's right. There's that pond over there. There's,
If there was something that, I mean, they would come under the aquifer protection bylaw. If they put something in there, they would have to follow those rules, and that would be the rules that we would require.
What are they
Yeah.
planning to put in there? That's what I'd like to know.
I don't know that they know until they're constructed.
yeah, they may
I
not
just
know
see
who's
that
gonna lease it.
there's
They
a
might not
number
know
of
who the
these
tenant's
things
gonna
being
be.
built.
And they might put pesticides on there.
Well, whoever the building is, somebody would have to come up with identification of that, I guess. So, yeah, it seems rather mundane to me, unless there's something, Steve, that you picked up, or Scott, that is a concern.
I think it's, just looking at the application, it's zoned for LM. I think they're gonna follow suit with the other current
Tenants.
tenants they have there.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. How do you feel about that, Pradeep? You want to have them come in, or you think?
No, I think if it is existing building and, they're extending, there's not much we can get from them other than, the extension plan.
Make a
Okay.
motion that we send a note to the planning board that we have no comments to this project.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a pretty important water area. That's why we gotta be careful here. Generally, we don't have to worry too much, but this is something that could cause us some problems.
See,
So
that's-
I wanna know, I don't wanna leave anything to chance.
If you're gonna have them come in, I think what Pat's concerned about is just what he was talking about with the McDonald's restaurant over there, with the water, the river, the Ponset River comes across the street.
Yeah,
So if they come in, you should have Dan Merrickin have it so we have it on the screen and show where the,
I tried
What?
pulling this plan up, it wasn't available yet for,
Yeah.
on digitally.
because he could superimpose that on the wetland, on the water, so we see where the buffer zone is and other, the Ponset River or whatever, as it comes by the property. It may not be an issue at all.
I'd like to amend my motion that we don't have any particular comment at this time, but note that the site is within the aquifer area, and we would be concerned of what the tenants, future tenants do with.
Okay, you want to second that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Bill's motion, if you have it. Terry? Any other
what's the
discussion?
motion again?
He's informing the planning board that we don't have any comments at this time, but we're concerned about the,
Noting that it's in the
Logistics of
aquifer
the
area and.
aquifer area.
and
I have concerns.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
That's what we are saying in the
Yeah.
comment.
we're saying we do have concerns.
I do have,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's why we need to bring the guy in and ask him about
Well,
we
these things.
certainly could have
We
them
can
in.
make a separate
I'm
motion.
thinking that the guy's gonna say, I don't have a tenant yet.
Well, part of the motion, if we're gonna do that, we should say we're bringing them in to talk to them.
Okay, is that all right? You want?
No,
Okay.
I don't see a reason to bring them in, and I suspect I don't have a tenant, or here, I've got one for this, I'm hoping to rent out the other, and, it
You're
goes for a
making this
year.
out of whole cloth. You're just guessing.
All right, well,
Exactly.
This is important water area.
There's also a
We
public
can't-
hearing on
We can't
June
be guessing
5th.
on this. We have to know exactly what's going on.
And,
The public hearing on
I don't know
June
that he's
5th.
gonna know.
No, but I think, to Pat's side, I would think, Bill, I think that, you're not articulating it well, but it's not about the tenant. It's about the fact that there is an aquifer area there, and he didn't show it. We can't make an assessment of how critical and close this is to the water resources. I get that part of it. I think if he explained, he could explain it away. I don't know where the buffer zones are. I can't decipher that plan, what he submitted, and he's not here to explain it. But, no, I'll second your motion for the point of getting
You
it
know,
off.
there's simple things we need to, for instance, is he gonna use chemicals on his driveways? What kind of chemicals is he gonna use for ice removal? Don't forget, this is gonna flow directly into our water. Things like.
Well, we don't know that. You're saying that we don't know.
That's
what
why
don't
we
know.
need them up here, to talk to them.
Okay. All right, so we have Bill's motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed?
No.
Abstain? Aye. So it's 2-1-1. Now, do you want to make a motion?
We should say that we're
No, you
inviting.
don't have to ask anybody else. If you want to invite him in, you could just move that we invite
I'm just gonna say,
Legacy
I'm
to come
trying to
in.
make- I move that we invite these folks in to chat with us about some questions we have.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. 3-0-1. I don't think it would take him that long, but at least you could show us the plan of where the aquifer is. Is it really that close to be? Because you don't want to put the guy through all this chemical stuff. If he isn't anywhere near it or doesn't have anything, there's no point calling that stuff out to another board. Thank you. So now we have, oh, this is good. Now, well exploration, Jarvis Farm / School Meadowbrook Aquifer. Wonderful.
Yes, last meeting, it was discussed to get some of the reports in front of the commission. In this packet are I believe, 3 reports from this exploration project. In summary, we started off May of last year. The initial scope was looking at Washington 5 and 6 and Jarvis Farm. Over at Washington 5 and 6, we have found suitable locations for replacement supplemental wells. We are currently working through a design for a fall town meeting cost. Over at Jarvis Farm, we did 2 series of drillings, a conventional drive and wash, followed by a sonic rig going to a depth of about 80 feet plus or minus. The material over at Jarvis was non-conducive for municipal drinking water well. There was just too much silt and clay material to actually permeate water to a well. And again, in this memo was that in detail report kind of describing the aquifer over there. We had some money left over and we looked at a spot between Washington 4 and the ponds at 1 and 2 behind this plant. Over there, we did the drive and wash method, and we ended up doing 4 wells over the course of a week. 2 wells showed ideal conditions for a well for public water supply, which is very promising. Both of them were closer to the road, which already accessed the ponds at 1, Washington 4, so it's already ideal location. Next steps would be looking at an 8-inch well and some more observation wells around there to start pumping it and getting some real data to file some DEP permitting. Right now, the estimated cost of that next phase, with the 8-inch well, I think he talked about 6 wells around it, $185,000, just for an idea for you guys. But that was probably one of the most promising sites was behind this plant, Washington 4, Neponset 1. There's some really good material, very promising site.
So you said 2 showed ideal conditions.
2 out of the 4. So if you walk behind the plant past Washington 4 to Neponset 1, on the right side of the trail, we cleared a path and we went in. Bill, you walked back there. Initially we went about 250 feet in.
Yep.
We started there, went a little farther, kind of didn't get any better, and then we started working our way to the road. And as we got towards the road, the material and the pumping got better. And again, we were only pumping through a 2.5-inch well, but it maxed the pump out, I think about 80 gallons a minute. And it seemed like there was plenty of water in it and really, really good conditions, really good material down below.
So, just theoretically, if those 2 were both good, what would they amount to far as a production contribution vis-a-vis million gallons a day from MWRA?
So for instance, if we had a well that could pump 500 gallons a minute, that's 720,000 gallons a day. No promises that we're gonna be able to get a permit for that.
Yeah,
But that is, the gallons per day equivalent, 500 gallons per day.
Why do you think we
John?
wouldn't get a permit for that?
One thing that we should be aware of is that Neponset 1 and 2 are basically failing. And this, if we permitted it, it would be, we would abandon mine. What do we get from
Yeah.
1 and 2 now?
We're doing about 130 gallons a minute right now.
So
last
you, I
time.
mean, you got, and a 2.5 is basically almost matching what 2, Neponset 1 and 2.
Production wells.
So it would, I think, the way I view it, and I've
It's not a
seen all of them,
substitute, yeah.
it would be a replacement.
right. It's
And-
holding in place.
And
We're
that
not-
would all
yes.
come later in the process as we look at the pumping capacity. And that's also the point of doing the 8-inch well, the 6 observation wells. So the report shows what the, what the drawdowns look like and the pumping, how far out the radius is, and all part of the permitting process.
Okay. Thank you.
He
Rick?
has the question like, why the permit will be a problem?
Just watching the traffic from the stadium.
Say that again?
Well, what would be, why do you think we could have trouble getting a permit?
Could we get your insight on this issue?
Yeah, so.
If I don't mean to interrupt you watching the traffic, but
That's how exciting this was. That well looks promising, that site off of, in between Washington 4 and the treatment plant. It does look promising right now, but the Neponset 1 was very promising when we built that, back in the 80s, 90s, whenever it was. What happens is, to Steve's point, we need to do a long-term prolonged pump test. That'll tell us how quickly it'll recharge. I mean, you can hit a magical spot and get a couple hundred gallons a minute, but what you need to do is recharge that well. So the soils in the general area of the well have to have the capability of allowing water to transmit through back into the well. So that's what needs to be determined with the long-term pump test. But right now, as of right now, it looks very favorable. As to why they missed it when they did Neponset 1 and Washington 4, I don't know. I don't know if it just magically appeared or as to how they found it, that closely. But
okay.
at 500 gallons a minute, if we could get a well at 500 gallons a minute, that would be a bonus.
So in our application to the for the MWRA, when we talk about examining existing resources, I mean, that can be properly portrayed into the decline of other wells that we currently have as a, as a fulfillment or substitute or backfill of that capacity.
Right.
So
I think it's
it
one of them.
won't obstruct our our availability or eligibility
No,
for.
I actually think, Mr. Chairman, that it'll help, because we've done our due diligence to explore every
Right.
possible resource.
That's what I wanted to hear you say. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So you pretty much, one thing I would say in these drawings is,
Oh, it didn't come out well.
don't be shy about the computer. We got this beautiful setup.
Yeah, I had the same comment, like, can you
Got set
send
up.
us,
We
yeah,
get these things on.
I can send you guys the digital copies.
digital copy or share it on the.
Well, I'd like to
website,
have it
yeah.
here when we're all here talking. That's when it counts. Me in my living room, it doesn't help. I'm there alone. I can't vote there or
I've
anything.
gone out there and watched them do these pump tests and all, and it's really interesting how they do it, and you actually get to talk to the guy who's not only the hydrologist, but the guys who are actually driving the well, and you know, what was their opinion, and they were impressed with this location. And
So-
I saw, I think I mentioned to you, John, the one with the sonic drilling there, that it was like, when they got real down, it was like sort of a tube of clay, and then the next thing was like rock, like it was, they drilled through concrete. And I have a sample of it that I took.
Wow.
So it's definitely, Jarvis just didn't work out in any fashion.
Okay, well, you have better photos, I would say. Whatever we can get on the screen and show here is helpful, because obviously we can't.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't see
I'll make sure I
anything on
make
this
note
one.
of that.
But it was a nice summary. I appreciate you summarizing that way, that encapsulated.
Yeah, I'm glad we found a good spot in the end, and we kind of made the effort to go over there.
Yeah. You have any thoughts?
What's that?
You have any thoughts about this? or-
On the water,
On the testing, on the.
no, not that. No, it's
School.
just that, you know, we just, if we have our own water, it's kind of, well, if you're connected to the MWRA, you'll have water from a source that's gonna be there for a long, long time. It has very good water. You don't have to use a lot of chemicals and other apparatus to get it to drinking water standards, which would save us some money. So I'm always torn between the independence of the town and the quality of life for our citizens. And I think, you know, I always looked at this as an insurance policy, that we would have the opportunity when the occasion arose to tap into the MWRA. Right now, for instance, if there's no town in Massachusetts that can connect to Deer Island, there's no way. The sewer is closed. That's the end of it. It can't take any more. It's over. I don't want that to happen to us vis-a-vis the water situation. I want us to have some right to be able to call on that water at some future date. That's one of the things that is important to me. Because right now, if you're a town, you're not going to get MWRA sewage. You're just not going to get it. It's closed. It's done. It's all over.
We don't need it, we already have it. We don't need it, we already have it.
That's right, and we have the whole town that we can service. We were forward-looking at that time. And I think we should be forward-looking now.
Yeah, but I think that the indicators, Rick, are that the MWRA is going to be closed very soon, too. And that will not be available as an insurance company or insurance policy to Walpole ever in the future, no matter how many centuries or decades you go forward. So, you know, that certainly shouldn't interfere with our pursuit of the opportunity to be considered for the MWRA. And it seems like we have the economics to handle it. We can. All right. Thank you, Stephen. Now we have the upcoming hearing for the 9th. Terry informs me they want to start at 6 o'clock, if it'll be published that way. Just make a note to the commissioners that we'll be starting a half hour early. And you want to tell us about that, Steve, what you...
Yeah, so I presented you guys with this memo earlier in the week via email. Just a summary, I just wanted a little bit of feedback, which I've already gotten some, on different ways we can present the rates for FY ‑26, the town side, to the sewer and water commissioners. I know over the past year, it's talked about a flat fee spread amongst water sewer users, such as like a rate to serve or meter charge, and also a tiered sewer rate structure. So a couple of commissioners have already reached out. One is a sewer tiered rate structure. We're going to have as an option besides the generic one that Jim presents. And then also, along with the previously presented by Jim, the 3.6 to 4% water rate increase, we are going to have an option for you guys to look at that's going to have a flat fee in conjunction with the tiered water rates. And we're kind of going through that next couple weeks, how it'll look in order to support the FY26 budget.
Okay.
And if there's anything that you guys also wanted, the town side to kind of work up for the rate hearing, please let us know. The sooner the better, so we can get it looked over, double check it, so we're not, crunching them at the last minute.
So I corresponded with Steve on the rates and all, and requested to have the tiered sewer water rates, because I think we had a lot of discussion about commercial and industrial sewer, A&A and other entrance thing, and different towns. Even I gave the Boston example, but even Norwood has a 2-tier structure for sewer rates. So introducing that in the Walpole will help us to distinguish between, let's say, single-family residences and bigger houses or apartment complexes which are going to utilize the sewer system more heavily than our single houses. So the tiered sewer rates, it's already there on all other towns, so we should also adopt. So he'll be presenting that for the rate hearing.
I provided Steve an example of that, as well as a ready-to-serve or capital, a flat rate for the water. I provided examples which I can show what we have, or what I provided at this point, if you're interested.
What did that come out to be roughly, Bill, on your flat rate?
I can give you the stick here, and you can put that in, Scott.
I was at the concert at Gillette.
Yeah. I can't believe it back up.
Oh, there's the traffic going that way.
What's the
Kendrick Lamar at Gillette, the concert.
What is it? Concert?
Yeah, the concert at Gillette.
Oh, okay, that's why I also took 5 minutes.
This is the
It's
sewer
started
one.
at 7, but they don't go on for probably 9.
Why don't we look at the sewer? This one, I did this based using FY24 data, which is the most recent complete.
Commissioner Abbott, you might want to take a microphone with you, because it's pretty hard to hear you.
No, I'm blocking.
You take it out of there, Bill.
I can't, all right. All right. This is what our current rate is And if we continued, we'd have to go with a $119.51 per gallon. So, and what I did is just had the 4 tiers, which basically matches the water, and you'd see they would get a lower rate on the first 2 tiers and higher as you went further. And this is the out-of-town rate. And this is just where the number of customers are. The largest group is in Tier 1, and the second is down here where we have 2 large users. The only thing that I would mention on the tiers is we have 2 extremely large sewer users, and one of them being Siemens, and as you're probably, I don't know how much of the water, they're also our largest water, is 90% of it go out in little bottles or whatever, and they're paying sewer based on their water. And Steve, I think you're aware of a customer somewhere else that basically noted, hey, I want to just pay what I put in the sewer, which is basically what H&B does. So I didn't try to widen it too much. But anyways, that's what I looked at. If you want to look at the water, yeah, the other one is...
So what did you come up with the rate there? I was trying to read the...
I think it was like 5.3 to 6.5-ish.
Oh, well, let's go back to the sewer then, Scott. So these would be the... If you just stuck with what we have, that's what it would be, $119. There'd be a slight reduction for Tier 1 users, also for Tier 2, basically matching what the current for Tier 3 users, and Tier 4 would be slightly higher. In other words, instead of having a sharp curve, it's sort of, instead of flat, just a gentle tipping of it. And I think if you were going to go that route, you would not want to make a real exaggerated. I mean, you can tinker with the thing, but here's just an example of something I know you were interested in, Pradeep. Looks similar to what I presented back, I don't know, 9-10 months ago.
Yeah, that's okay to match with the water tiers. The only thing is in Norwood, I think it goes up to $180 for, above residential users. So 180, and we are still at 119 for the top tier. So that's only thing is that we'll still be charging less than the Norwood for industrial and commercial users.
You can start to, really reduce that. But it's a balloon.
I'm not asking
you squeeze it one place, it's going to bulge elsewhere.
Your point about being all the 4 tier almost similar is what I'm trying to say, that we have to distinguish the 2 bottom tier and 2 top tier as heavy users. So,
Again, there's nothing magic about this. This is one that would deliver the dollar amount that we would need. And as I said, things could be adjusted, but
I think the thing we should be cautious about is 1.6 million we get from Tier 4, and if we try and increase that, we may see these manufacturers change their process, and we could see a decrease in water and sewer use by them recycling water on site and keeping more of that water in their process to save money on water and sewer rates.
So anyways, if we could just go to water, I would just show, this would be an example of either a ready-to-serve or, moving out the capital cost. So this is what the current rate is, and maybe if we go over here, Scott, if we show and go down a little bit further, even further. Basically what we did, what I did here is reduce the rate. So like here is the, can we shift this over a little bit so we can see the full, no, this way. All right. This is without a ready to serve, and I used the rates that I think you would sent out, Steve. So basically taking a flat $8 per bill, Tier 1, if we stay with our present, would be at $56.65 per thousand. It would drop down, and actually all of these drop down, but you're picking up a flat $8 charge. And the concept there is no matter what you are, the amount you're using, the system's there and it's ready for you to use. And there's various things you could look at, part of the indirect, you could look at the capital or just the or meter size. There's a number of ways. But here I was just arbitrarily said $8 a quarter. It's not a big amount, but it might be our first step in doing that. The things that you would want to notice is, here's, I did for, if we go down one more, a couple more down, I picked somebody who uses 12,000 cubic feet, 1,900, 27, and 4,000. And I figured out this is what their bill would be using what we do right now. Here's what the bill would be if we lowered the rates but added everybody paying a fixed amount. And I chose, in this example, just $8 on the bill. We would identify it as a rate, ready to serve, or it could be tied to, capital costs, the types of things that we use retained earnings for.
And the ready to serve rate on the far right is an inclining.
It's the same thing. There is just a portion of your bill is static. And so what you see is for tiers 1, 2, and 3, well, actually 1 and 2, their bill goes up. And basically tier 3 in this example, it's very close. And on when you get to the higher amounts, they actually see a reduction. And that's just the way it works on all of the communities that have a flat charge in addition to a usage charge. That's what happens. Right now, we deliver, spread our indirect costs, all our capital costs, and everything across all the users based on how much they use. So I don't know if you have any questions, but these are just two examples that I gave.
Yeah, I have a question. How will the $8 will be charged quarterly when the bills are not done quarterly? They're spread throughout the financial year.
That's one of the questions that I asked. I talked to Jody.
Yeah, they overlap.
What are the rules? Because a lot of people, or a lot of systems, like at the end of every month, Foxborough, they're billing a third. The next month, a different third.
I'm not talking about Foxborough. And for Walpole, the bills are done.
Are not. They are. They're not on any particular thing. And that was a question I asked Jody when I talked to her. What would the rules be? It's not a big deal once you get into a fiscal year, but when you go into a fiscal year, part of your usage is in a prior set of rates, and how do you do that? And I don't have the answer to that. I arbitrarily just said, once you get going, we would be charging $8, and once you get into a second year, it wouldn't really matter, but your point's well taken, Padri, and I don't know what the rules would be. That would be something we would have to decide. And I don't know, Steve, if you've seen anything what other communities have done.
I know when I was in Plainville, we had a flat fee, and once we rolled into the next fiscal year, as the bills were issued in that fiscal year, that's when the new fee came into play.
So in this case, it would be their first bill, which would be, portion would be using the rates for the prior year, and part, they got the full, in this case, $8.
Correct.
So that would be one way of doing it. Like I say, when I was coming up with this, I said, Does anyone know what the rules are? And it sounds like, well, you decide what the rule is.
Yeah, so the Norwood has that fees, but they do monthly billing.
Right.
And it's easy to
Yeah.
calculate month to month. But if the bills are not done on time and spread randomly across the year, across the financial years also, I don't think this fees will work. We should stick with the rates what we are doing. We are not getting much by introducing this complexity. That's
And
my
it's just,
opinion.
it's something that we had spoke of. It's something we've talked about with the MWRA, the idea of charging a set amount that would cover the amount that we are going to owe to Norwood. And actually, I picked the $8 because that would, in a year, be $32. You multiply them by the 8,000 users, and it's just a little bit more than what have been proposing we would be paying to Norwood, $250,000 for the next 20 years. This $8 would produce $262, $1,000, basically matching what they need. Anyways, just there were things we discussed. I've given 2 examples, and just so you can see what, and if you have any questions, fine. Otherwise,
Well, did you print this up at all, or
pardon me?
could you print this up, the examples?
I did send it to Steve, so he
So
has it.
my goal is the week before the rate hearing, you guys will each get an email, kind of like this memo, and I'm hoping to have, Jim's initial, like, option A. This would be like an option B for water, for sewer, Jim's initial option A, and then, Pradeep asked about the tier sewer, that'd be an option B, kind of, that would be in your packets. And so when we get to the rate hearing, if those are favorable and kind of you guys want to talk about it more in depth, they would already be in front of you for the rate hearing.
Well, the sooner we get it, the more we have time to deliberate. Obviously, we get
Yeah.
the last minute, it's too much information and not enough time.
It needs to be sooner than 1 week before the rate hearing.
I can, we can probably get up 2 weeks in advance, an
Okay.
email
And
memo.
the
Just
other
want to
thing-
let you know, this is the last scheduled meeting
Right.
before the rate hearing.
No, but at
And
least,
when we intentionally set the rate hearing to be the second to last meeting of the fiscal year, so there is some wiggle room, but
Right, but nothing says you can't call another meeting.
that's true.
sure. No, it's,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
we all know that we have Proposition 2.5 in Massachusetts. And in any of these, schemes, I see the percentage is not 2.5. What's the justification for that when we shouldn't increase the tax levy more than 2.5?
Can you bring up the sewer rate? I think go to the, I didn't
So
copy
my
it.
question is this.
I had yours, Steve, where I think it was 2% on tier 1 and 2 and 4 and.
For the sewers, no, I kept
No,
them.
for the water.
Oh, the one I came up with, kind of like
Yeah.
a mock,
Yeah,
that might be, a different spreadsheet.
yeah, I thought I copied it, but
All right, in tier 1, what is the increase from last year?
I think it was 2% on tiers 1 and 2, and I want to say 4 was,
For last year's rate increase?
no. what we-
This year's, what's proposed rate increase?
Currently, in Jim's memo from January, February, it's about 3.6 to 4.15 across the
I read
tiers.
that. That is for tier 1?
Tier 1, I think, believes at 3.6, and tier
Okay.
4 ends up being
Yeah.
like.
Yeah,
4.
I think, and I can't vote for it unless it is, in tier 1 at least, it can't exceed 2.5. That is something that we owe it to the people who are our water users. It's also my campaign promise that I made. especially Tier 1, because Tier 1 does something very important. In the past, we tried to give seniors a break. And what we had decided 20 years ago, maybe, was that we would have a low rate for people who were, folks who didn't use much water. And that's Tier 1. So that's very important that we keep that within the law and keep it at less than 2.5. So that's what I'm saying now. I would like to see, I can't vote for anything that doesn't have that. So at least Tier 1 should be no more than 2.5.
So just to be clear, we can mock one up just for you, so tier 1 is 2.5, and the rest of the tiers make up the rest of the,
Well, you know, that's management's job. You know,
All right, well, there's another dimension to this. It's the ask. In other words, Jim's memo compiled a lot of capital projects all at once. And certain things like the meter program don't necessarily have to be consolidated and compressed into a short period of time. They could easily be spread out and take the pressure of the amount of borrowing, the amount of money that's involved on an annual basis, so that we could keep the rates a little more in
John,
tune.
just, if I could interject, what was being proposed here does not include the borrowing for the meters. You won't see that until the FY '27.
Didn't we approve the capital budget, Rick, for
A portion of it.
3
Yeah.
years?
But
For
it-
three,
Town meeting
Periods.
hasn't voted on
no,
that.
no, I'm just talking about us.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have approved a 5-year plan, but I'm just saying, the rates for FY '26 don't have any, because there's no borrowing. The borrowing would take place and first show up in FY '27, just the way the things work. And the initial thing is your interest, and then the subsequent year, you're paying interest and principal.
Well,
So the things that we're here, that are, were included in the FY '26 are already locked in. They've been voted by us, voted by town meeting, and the money's been borrowed,
So
in the case of borrows.
So same with the MWRA Norwood thing. We have, the town has not voted it, isn't it? So we should
Right,
not
so
be
it's
talking
not
about
in
it.
there.
So
It's
we should
not-
not be talking about it now? Okay.
so just to be clear on your point, Patrick, would you like to see an option that's tier 1's 2.5%, and then the rest of the tiers pick up the rest of the FY '26 kind of
Okay,
budget?
let me say what I said. The rate on Tier 1 should not exceed 2.5.
Okay.
I guess your, Bill, your $8. When is that perceived to be unbundled into our rate?
Well, based on what you were saying, Steve, in Plainville, when a bill went out and it was into the new fiscal year, regardless of when the usage occurred, and that would be really the first quarter, they got the $8 charge or whatever.
All right, but is Steve calculating that in his percentage increase, or is that viewed in
I
a separate
included it
category?
in mine.
All right.
my
But if we
example.
take that out of there, you talk about the rate, a capital improvement fee, an annual fee, or an entrance fee, or whatever you want to call it, is not the same thing as a rate change. And it's a separate category. So
Right.
if we pull that out, you'll have a lower percentage on the actual variable rate, of the rate of variable use.
Yes, and that's what I showed, is that all the rates went down, except for when you get to the higher rate. And it's because things that used to be tied to usage, a portion of it is now a flat fee, and it would show up on the bill as whatever we'd call it, ready to serve. I wouldn't tie to meters, because like 95% of our meters are the small ones.
You know,
Or
it would
capital
be
or
like, the
something.
flat fee, the fire suppression fee.
Yeah.
Those are all kind of they'll be the same category of revenues.
Only with the fire suppression, with very few users. Now, everybody would see another line on their bill, whatever we called it, it would be a flat rate. And like I said, I just picked $8 because it sort of matched with what we'd been talking
Well,
about.
it's easily explained. I
Yeah.
mean, I think you said it'd be a quarterly bill like that for $8, that's the price of 3 cups of coffee over the month, or
Yeah.
a cup of coffee every month or something. I mean, it's not a big stretch.
With the capital improvement plan that we have proposed, very necessary, very needed improvements. Without a standalone capital improvement plan, your rates are gonna skyrocket. So you need to be a little more creative and as to how you raise revenues for those.
Right.
We're one of the only towns around that does not have a capital improvement plan. Rentham has 2 charges, a meter charge and a capital improvement plan that are on each of the bills. Norwood has a meter charge. Plainville has a capital improvement charge. Franklin, I don't know how many charges they have.
Well, let's get the menu out here. Maybe at a meeting, we can go through these different
And
options so we can see.
Another thing you may want to consider is a minimum bill. You have several accounts that get bills for $12,
Yeah, I did have
$22.
That-
I
That's
gave
a
you,
good
Steve,
one.
a chart that
It costs us
shows,
$45 to
Yeah.
generate a $12 bill.
Yeah, no, that's a very good, that's a good example, Rick.
I did produce a graph that showed how many, and I think it was by $25, 0 to $25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, and you could see, the slope, and there's a substantial number of folks that are, have very small bills. I know the collection, the collecting group, Lisa and her group, sees, why are we sending out bills for, very, very small amounts?
Yeah, well,
Basically, what it would be is what I showed as an $8, you could call that as the minimum, and not label it anything other than, that's what we charge. We charge you $8 whether you use any of the water or not, or you tie it to something, capital, or, the fact that the system is there for your use. How much you use of it is your
we
decision.
call it a sustainability fund or
Something, yeah.
something. But do we have any bulk water users, that guys that fill swimming pools or anything, companies that?
Not swimming pools, hydro seeders. I think hydro seeders is about the biggest bulk tank filler we get right now.
They don't use a lot.
No. Because, the commercial thing, the thing about Siemens, is, whoever brought that up, they sell the water for like $500 a gallon that they buy from us in their test kits, So, I don't have much empathy for Siemens about if we charge the 2 big users some additional cost, to keep the tier 1 down.
Just to put things in perspective, I believe our water is less than a penny a gallon.
Yeah,
Okay, so you go to Stop and Shop, you buy a gallon of drinking water off the shelf. It's $1.80, $2. Ours is a penny a gallon. We deliver it to the house. If there's a problem, we need fire protection, fire suppression, it's there.
And
Try
Joe-
putting out a fire with bottled water.
John,
No, I know.
the biggest user is Siemens. The second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth are large apartments.
yeah.
In fact, I think the next time you look at anybody you would consider a big commercial user, they might just make the top 20.
So let's go, we have some big, heavy users coming along then with the 55 Summer Street and, some of the other
Yeah.
projects, Toll Brothers, et cetera.
But the point I was making is, don't get the idea that, we've got a lot of real,
No, I know.
industrial, commercial, we just don't. It's
No,
just,
no, I know that,
yeah.
I know that.
And most of the commercial users are banks, doctor's offices, real estate offices that
But I
get very
want
small bills.
to keep the sensitivity that Patrick brought up, I used to call it lifeline, that you put, and all the types of utilities, gas, electric, as well as water, that you have a lifeline rate for the very minimum, the low-income people, the ones that are just sustainability need that. And I don't want to lose that 2.5 thing or whatever. I don't want to lose that in our structure. That's, it's philosophically.
Okay.
So,
All right, so I have about 2 to 3 scenarios input from the emails this meeting to get working on. If anything comes up in the next week, please email me, and I will aim for 2 weeks before the rate hearing to kind of get you guys an email with a packet similar to this to look over
yeah.
in preparation.
And if we need to have a special meeting, we can do that, or a workshop or something, where we just let us know you think it'd be helpful to explain the stuff.
Yeah, we can post, if there's enough numbers, we'll post it, so it's official.
Okay.
Well, we will also have an election, and we'll have a change probably in the composition of the commission. So we
Right.
should take that into effect too.
So that'll be before the
That's right.
rate hearing.
Well,
Yeah.
that's right. The rate hearing will be a different composition.
All right, fluoridation, let's see, weather quality report.
Yep, we're getting close to July 1 for our annual consumer confidence / water quality report. It's been finalized. The proof is right here in front of you. The actual mailer is going to be 11 by 14, just so you guys know. It's going to be bigger than this. Pretty much all the language is all the same. The lead and copper statements changed a little bit. It's been updated for this year to meet regulations, and all of our water quality report information is right here. Expect this in the mail first week of June, and it'll be up on the website. So we're a couple weeks out.
And this is
Okay.
required by the state.
It's required to be in everyone's mailbox by June 30th.
I have a hard time reading it. Trihalomethanes, right?
Yes.
We should see that go way, way down once we get some type of a way to get rid of the chlorine.
So if we treat the precursors, yes, it will go down, yes.
Okay. And I don't see, is PFAS on here?
Yes.
Like I say,
In the regulated substances, the last line is PFAS 6. So you
First-
can-
The first chart, it's the last item in the first chart, Pat.
you're talking about the 6 bad ones.
the PFAS 6 contaminants that we measure right now for,
You do all 6 of them?
we do more than 6, but the six, the sum of the 6 is right here, that last line.
Yeah, I can't read, what does it say?
We've been at 1.24 to 17.1 throughout 2024
17.1?
is the highest, just.
And the Commonwealth is thinking of changing that, is that correct?
They are looking at individual PFAS compounds, and some of them have a max of 4. So for instance, down farther, you see like PFBS, PFH. So they're looking at individual, because there's hundreds of PFAS compounds. Right now, we measure for our standard 6. We think around 2029, I believe we'll be looking at 8 different compounds, and they're looking at the individual numbers, not the sum of the 6.
Well, what's the old number 18? What did that reflect?
20?
18. There was an 18 involved. We were 18, I think. What were you 18 last?
Our average could have been around 18 or.
And 20 is the state?
So if we go
Max.
over, if we go over 20, we will be in a MCL violation.
Okay. And we have a court case going on.
A litigation case, yes, with a
What's
3M.
Well, that's on a court, isn't it?
Well, 3M is the person who's paying out the litigation.
Okay.
The
The other one's on
DuPont's.
a court?
They are the plaintiff, I believe.
In a court?
Yes,
It's a court case.
yes.
All right, thank
Litigation,
you.
yes.
Well, you didn't say that in the beginning. The thing is, what's the status with that?
So we've received the first settlement about a week ago, Rick,
3M, I believe, in DuPont settled.
and I believe there's a couple years staggered settlement coming
Is
through.
is this a consent agreement?
Consent agreement?
Yeah.
It's ordered by the court.
Have they consented to what the plaintiffs want?
Yes.
Okay.
They-
And what does that mean for the town?
I think the first payment is 600 and some odd $1,000.
How much?
680,000, maybe something, somewhere thereabouts. In total, I believe it's,
5
5 million.
million-ish.
Okay, and that's just those two companies?
was it 3M and DuPont or just 3M? One of them, which, Scotty, which
What-
one? 3M and DuPont,
Those are the two biggest ones.
DuPont,
yes.
what about them?
They were part of the suit that
Well-
settled,
Have they settled?
yes,
3M settled,
yes.
DuPont settled, and the other one is Minnesota.
They're smaller companies.
BASF type.
Okay.
The smaller players.
They haven't settled yet?
It's not-
So Steve, did the state require that you print this in the smallest print possible that
No,
someone
that's
could
just a
read this?
draft.
I don't think it's,
So again, the final is gonna come on 11 by 14.
You're trying to save paper, is that it?
This was just, I want to put in front of the commission before it hits the mailers and you guys get the phone call and
Yeah.
text messages.
We're gonna have to go home with a magnifying glass.
It should be on the website before it actually hits the mailboxes, in case anyone wants the blown-up version.
Okay.
The actual ones will be that size over there, that those.
Will it look
Oh, yeah,
like same,
yeah,
or is there any drastic change?
The only real big language change, the EPA is making us update the lead and copper language.
Yeah, so I was coming to that because that statement, because it runs through the news channel and the people are going to ask the question. So do we have some extra explanation for it from the department if we are going to get a phone call or email?
Yes, I would refer to our statement on the website and the statement here as kind of the guidance we've gotten from the state of how we should be kind of relaying the lead and copper information.
Okay. And do we have something on your website already? That's
Yes,
my question.
we have a lead and copper section.
Okay.
I would suggest if any of the commissioners personally get a call about the water quality report, that they be directed to either Scott or Steve.
Yeah, we do. Some people come and shows their,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
no.
the
Yeah, no, I'm
plastic
asking, I'm
parts
just saying,
or, you know,
if they have a
yeah.
specific question
Yeah,
as to levels and things like that,
Okay,
I think those questions would be better answered by,
by that department.
Scott.
Yep, sounds good.
So, one other comment, if you could ask the building maintenance department to check our clock. It's running backwards. It's getting earlier as he's going, we're never gonna get out of here. Okay, we have.
One last
Okay,
question,
sure.
sorry. In this, where is the contact information for the department?
Under the quality first, second page, about halfway down, third paragraph.
Yep, yep. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, now we have community water fluoridation statement.
Yeah, I was requested that fluoride get on the agenda. I wasn't quite sure exactly which angle to kind of bring to the meeting. So this is the statement from the DPH, which regulates us on our fluoride addition in the water.
and I noticed this, I'm the one who asked this be put on the agenda. This statement is very self-serving. I mean, all it is positive why we should have fluoride. And it actually tells you the amount. it also doesn't tell you that they reduced the amount.
Yes, I believe that was what, 8
Yeah.
years ago, Scott, maybe now?
Yeah, it used to be .9 to 1.3.
What is it, Scott?
It used to be .9 to 1.3 was the optimal
Now
range.
it's, what, they got 7?
.7.
Yeah. So there's a whole other side to fluoridation of a public water supply. And looking into it for the last 20 years, there's so many pros and cons, and it matches almost completely. You get a pro, you get a con, you get a pro, you get a con. But this one, of course, only says it's wonderful. But we need to be aware that there's another side to this and listen to what people have to say and the latest research on fluoridation. You understand that one of the things that has changed is that people now buy their water and it costs more than a penny a gallon. They buy it from stores. And I don't know of any, there must be some that are fluoridated. But not many of them have fluoride in them. So the kids are getting their drinking water from non-fluoride sources. And I know a lot of kids drink fluoride, the sports drinks. I don't think their has fluoride in them either. And the toothpaste does have fluoride. Okay, most people have that. People think that if you drink the water, you're getting the fluoride. Well, for your teeth, and that's not true. Fluoride is a topical situation where the fluoride comes into your teeth through its contact with your teeth. But that's all, we could get into this forever. What I'm saying is that even though the Department of Public Health here has this statement, it's a self-serving statement, and we should be aware, the public should be aware of what's going on and all the pros and cons of fluoride.
Does the MWRA have fluoride?
That's, when it doesn't have fluoride originally.
That means 40 years ago?
No, I mean when it comes out of Quabbin.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I didn't think it had chlorine in either, till I took the field trip. And they do inject some chlorine into the water as it moves towards Boston. I failed to ask them about fluoride. I don't think, I would say no, because they give the local towns the option of putting fluoride in or not. We have fluoride injectors, right?
We do inject the fluoride, yes.
Right. So I would pretty much think that each town would decide if they're going to inject, if they're on MWRA system. I don't think they supply it though.
I believe they do.
You think the MWRA supplies fluoride?
I believe if you're a community taking MWRA water, you're not going to have your own chemical stations adding fluoride at the metering site.
Yeah, we'll have to check that, but I don't think that they have, they provide fluoride.
well, do you or Scott know of how many, any of our neighbor towns that absolutely they don't fluoridate? Maybe Medfield?
I don't know.
I know when I was in Plainville, we didn't have fluoride.
You
I know there's some communities that voted against it, but because they have water from another supplier, they're getting fluoride.
yeah. Okay. All right? Is that, all right. So I think that's, let's see, what do we got here?
Oh, we have the old business, right? I had
Yeah.
another thing I put on the agenda, and that was the wells.
Can we just go with them in order?
Yeah.
First, before we get into something.
The
new?
MWRA
Happy to
connection-
yours, But
If, it's under old business, does someone have a specific thing on the,
I just was wondering, do we have an update from Lear where this is? Last we were sending something to the Water Resources Commission, I think. I don't know.
We have a signed agreement for this pump station design that's in the beginning stages.
And is that something that has to go with the information that goes to the Water Resources Commission? I'm just trying to find where are we in the process? It's been a while since.
I believe that the pump station is in conjunction with the final application.
All right,
As far as the permitting, I have not been updated on that.
all right,
We'll get an update for the next meeting.
thanks.
That would be good, thank you. Yeah, because we don't want all those legs of the per chart, we don't want them all to be linear, so that we only do one thing. Anytime we can multitask and work on two of those things on the performance matrix, we do it, because we want to get there faster, not later, or at least the commissioners do.
That was
just
my
kind
own
of find out-
question. I just wanted to know where we were in the process. Yeah, that's
Because you notice on Jim Johnson's memo there, he listed a little bit, a modification of what Leah had given us about a timetable, and he seemed to like extend the outlier time, 26, 27, whatever, which I wasn't too happy about. I don't know if you just used that as an arbitrary number or what, but like to tighten the outlier dates and get the work done faster. Okay, was there something on Jarvis Farm that someone brought up?
Last meeting, I believe Pat requested a
I got it,
report.
yeah.
So I put a little short information together for you guys. But the basics, 24.7 acres, you know, it was purchased to the town in 2014.
Purchased by the Stormwater Commission.
And, you know, a little definition on passive recreation. I did measure out the nearest well to the property. It is 1,100 feet away. Engineering did a cost estimate, I think back in 2023, 30 spaces, 120 by 110, stormwater drainage. We updated it with 2025 costs, and construction is estimated at $270,000 for that 30 space lot.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Steve.
The one that didn't put on the agenda that I requested that never got there was about the wells. The heat pump wells. It seems that a person in Brookline was putting in a heat pump well. And they notified DigSafe, and they proceeded to drill a well about 10 feet from their house. And they went down into the earth, and all of a sudden, at 300 feet, they struck a MWRA aqueduct that was running, supplying Boston. Okay, the big deal, there's a whole film on it, you can look it up on the television. And it was a horror show, really. Now, the thing is that there's no control over this. And they're suggesting that the towns have a permitting system where you notify the town that you're going to drill. And the town then has a responsibility to notify MWRA, which isn't part of DigSafe, and whoever else is in this game, so that this won't happen again. In other words, they're putting it on the town for their own infrastructure.
Really? That's-
Right. And it's.
Well, why isn't the MWRA part of DigSafe? I thought it was.
It isn't.
But why? It's
I
one of
don't
the
know.
biggest
We
utilities
asked that
around.
question. They didn't know why either.
What?
We're
Why?
not part of DigSafe either.
What?
We are not part of DigSafe.
Okay.
So if you call DigSafe your house, unless you call the water department separately, we're not gonna mark utilities because we don't know.
So who coordinates that for a well?
Typically the contractor or the
Huh?
homeowner. Typically the contractor or the homeowner.
All right, we need to get a permit system. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be $10 to get a permit.
I'm not so sure that it should be sewer and water that should get the permit.
Who's gonna give it?
That I don't know, but I don't understand why it would be sewer and water.
Well, it usually is.
Why
And
not?
We don't have any
Do have
MWRA.
permits.
If we had the MWRA
They do have
pipelines in our town, we'd be
stormwater.
all set.
So that contractor should have looked up easements they were drilling on
Yeah.
for a little
That's
research.
that's an
for it.
idiosyncrasy of a contract.
Yeah, but
That's
he
not-
looked it up and he couldn't find anything. That's why he drilled.
Well, MWRA should put their aquifers, their pipes on a map, first of all. And they should inform DigSafe, give them all their
They're
maps.
300 feet down. I mean,
But we don't have any MWRA property in Walpole.
not yet,
No,
no.
so we don't have to worry about it.
But we have, who knows what other things we have.
But we're not in charge of drilling, though. That doesn't.
No,
have
but, you know, a lot of towns, you need a permit to put in a drinking water well from the commission.
Here it's the health department.
Huh?
In the
Board of
town of
Health.
Walpole, it's the health department. Which I think by state law is the health.
Yeah, that's the way they think of potable water. It's a health
But if they're
issue.
drilling for irrigation,
No permit.
they just drill, baby.
Drill, baby, drill.
Okay,
All right, that's it.
thank you. So meter to
I
cash.
brought that up.
Yes, Steve, yeah, any update on the?
We have 777 of the new meters installed, 64 signups. Cycles 7, 8, 9, and 22, read dates of January 28th through April 28th. Mail out date of May 27th, so that's a little less than 30 days. Next batch cycles 10, 11, 12, and 13 have read dates of February 11th through May 11th, and a bill date of June 10th. And that's what I have for a meter to cash report.
Do we have that monthly report, the cash and pump report?
I don't think that made it in time for
No.
this meeting.
I haven't gotten it, as soon as they send them to me, I send it to Terry.
So how, so we need that for billing at least.
So the
if you-
last I looked, we were at the 75% through the fiscal year. I think both usages in water and sewer right around the low 80%.
That's fine, but can you send it, the reports to the commissioner by emails?
I think the last, the 9 out of 12 month report made it to the last meeting, but I know next meeting, we should have the most up to date.
As soon as we get it, we'll email it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because the next is right hearing. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I, we don't have anything on
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna discuss this at the rate hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because we'll have it at the rate hearing. I think town administration, management, should give us some ideas of how we can institute an I&I fee again, because it's just unconscionable that we're making ratepayers pay for these companies coming in with 15,000 gallons a day?
15,000 triggers 4 to 1 removal.
Right, okay. So, and these are big companies, they are adding a lot to the sewer. We need to have an I&I program. It's the way it should be funded. I think it should be funded by the people who are putting this excess sewage into the system, and therefore I'm going to propose a fee for that. But if town administration has some ideas on this, please bring them to the meeting so we can look at them.
And I would object to us, but at the rate hearing, I'll object to the idea of, and I think we were sued in the past for doing that. So that'll be the other side, I guess, on the rate hearing.
Okay. All right, if there's no other business for this evening, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
The hour being 14 after 6, sewer and water time, I make a motion, we adjourn.
So moved. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.